federal government did is it commissioned private commercial airliner jets from different airlines, and it had these nighttime airlift deportations. Between 60, 70, 180 Pakistani individuals in an airplane that might be a Portuguese airline jet that would take off in the middle of the night and return people to Pakistan. Nobody here would be notified. People would have vanished. Their families wouldn't have been able to trace them. We rounded up people that were seeking political asylum in this country. We sent them back to the place they were running from.
Reports began to filter back that people had been tortured in Syria, disappeared in Egypt, and murdered in Pakistan.
We put all these people in terrible situations all around the world. And it's, you know, the enormity of that every once in a while overwhelms me. You know, it's like, this can't be the country that I grew up in.
The way America had treated the detainees was so bad that the Justice Department's Inspector General found it necessary to issue a report condemning what had occurred.
A report came out by the Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Justice that basically confirmed that all of these things did happen.
This was not a report of outside critics. This was a report done by the Inspector General of the Justice Department itself, criticizing the haphazard and the indiscriminate manner in which the rights of immigrants were trampled upon in the aftermath of 9/11.
Within a day or two afterwards, Attorney General John Ashcroft got on the news and said, well, we do it the same way all over again.
He insisted that he had done nothing wrong, that he had no regrets, that he would do it all over again.
This is the chief law enforcement officer of the United States that's saying, well, yes, we'd redo all of these unconstitutional policies all over again. And we're just floored, because there's another department in our government that is basically saying this is horrendous and it can't happen. And here's our Attorney General saying, I don't care.
What's happening in Guantanamo is symptomatic of the way the government is proceeding in its war against terrorism, which basically seems to be anything goes.
Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. A strange place for the U.S. to have a military base. Set up after the Spanish-American War in 1903, the U.S. has paid about $4,000 in rent to the Cuban government annually. Until recently, it was a little-known outpost. But after 9/11, the U.S. government adopted a policy that would shock the rest of the world.
Guantanamo Bay was chosen as the place where the administration wanted to hold people that they picked up in the war on terrorism, no matter where they picked them up, from Afghanistan or Pakistan or Bosnia or anywhere else. And they really went around and they looked, where can we hold people and not be subject to court review or any legal restrictions?
In Guantanamo, the U.S. government insists that the men held are not entitled to the protections of the Geneva Convention, since they're not prisoners of war, that they weren't combatants of a state power. And yet, by the same token, the government argues that they're not entitled to the protections of constitutional laws because they're not held on American territory.
The administration chose Guantanamo as an island outside the sovereignty of the United States, but subject to our exclusive control. And they did that for the specific purpose of avoiding the law, avoiding all the rules, the Geneva Conventions, our Constitution.
By creating this sort of label of terrorist, unlawful enemy combatant, they're trying to use sort of propaganda on why we shouldn't care about them, why we shouldn't ensure due process for them, and kind of sacrifice our values as Americans that we've held so high.
BBC reporter Vivian White was allowed to audiotape his visit to a place that had been previously off-limits to all journalists.
I'm walking now along a line of cells, which are 8-foot by 8-foot metal grids. We're deep inside Camp Delta. I can now see a group of men dressed in white, in T-shirts. These are detainees. They were just a few feet away, the other side of the wire, and one of them then spoke to all of us in English.
Are you journalists or what? Yes, can we talk to you? BBC Television. We're from BBC TV. Thank you very much. After a long time we're looking you here. You need to Sorry? After a long time we're looking you here. It's amazing for us strange. We should saw you before, but we're looking now.
If you don't move, you're going to have to leave.
Please follow. Bring them back. Let's go. Tour's over. Keep it rocking.
all of us thought when we started hearing about Guantanamo that the people that were going there were people that were fighting for the Taliban, that were part of Al-Qaeda. And there probably are a lot of people there that aren't very nice. But what we quickly learned from groups that were permitted to go in and to do civil rights and human rights assessments is that there were people there that really didn't belong there. Because the battlefield in Afghanistan was everywhere and anywhere. And so that meant that anyone who was in and around was subject to being brought in.
Whether they were fighting for Al-Qaeda or fighting for the Taliban, as the military suggests, or whether they were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, picked up by a bounty hunter who wanted to claim a reward that the military was giving out for bringing in Al-Qaeda people.
There were men that were well into their 80s that were brought into this net, and there were children. This wasn't just people that were soldiers on the field.
Mozam Beg is a British national whose family says he was installing wells in Afghanistan and teaching in Pakistan until shortly after 9/11.
I received a telephone call from my son. He said, "Dad, I've been arrested." And I said, "What? Why?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "Who has arrested you?" He says, "Americans, and I don't know where they're taking me." And the line was disconnected.
For over a month after his arrest, his family had no idea of his whereabouts. Finally, they received a letter. He had been taken to Guantanamo Bay.
Everything about these detentions is designed to render these human beings into this state of total dependence on the United States military. They're held in solitary, they're manacled when pulled out for interrogation, they're interrogated at great length, they can't reach out to anybody, they can't call a lawyer, they can't call their families. These people are entirely at the mercy of the military with no end in sight to their detention, and not surprisingly, there have been suicide attempts.
At last count, more than 30 of the Guantanamo Bay detainees had tried to kill themselves.
We don't hear about that anymore because the government no longer reports suicide attempts.
Beg's family had no understanding of the graveness of his circumstances. The few letters they did get from him avoided details altogether.
In fact, he was trying to avoid everything because I had bypass operation and I was not well enough. So he was not writing anything clear to me. After a year, I wrote to him that I'm very well, there is nothing wrong with me. Then, in response to that letter, he wrote me a letter saying that I'm pleased that you're well. Pleased to know that you can do all the activities, but my position is different. I haven't seen moon, sun, or natural light for the last 1 year, except 2 minutes. I've been kept like an animal in a cage. They don't give me food. They don't give me water. My clothes are torn. Where are my human rights? There is no one to help me. That's why I'm writing you. So please help me if you can. That letter actually tore me apart. I didn't know what to do. Straight away got in touch with Foreign Office. They said we don't have any access. Americans won't allow us to go there, so we do not know anything about him. If we hear, we will let you know. They never ever did anything.
What Beg's father is asking for his son is specifically guaranteed in tenets of international law. He wants an impartial trial.
If he is guilty, he should be punished. If he is not guilty, why should be there?